And we are live.
Hi, Lisa.
Yay!
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Well, for our audience, I believe this is the episode 4 already of my Leading Well with Mental Fitness podcast. I am so excited to have you here, Kyra. So, and I should have asked you ahead of time. Is it Boveda?
Boveda.
Boveda.
We say
Okay.
Boveda, but I understand
Boveda.
that my husband's father moved here from Cuba.
Got
it changed
it.
over time how people pronounce
Okay. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so Kyra Boveda,
it.
so glad that you are here. She is the founder and CEO of Canelo, and we're going to have a great workplace discussion today. So, yeah, why don't you just share a little bit more about yourself, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Thank you, Lisa. So excited to be
Yes.
here. And yeah, a little bit about my story. I'm a software engineer turned entrepreneur. I worked remotely as a software engineer in both large corporations and startups alike, and found that I was craving more human connection in that process. And through my MBA studies at Portland State, I ended up creating Canelo. Used to be called The Weave for creating that social fabric between teams. And now Canelo stands for connection and hello put together to make a cute new word. But
I like that.
Yeah, that's me. That's how we got started here. And now we get to talk together.
Yay! So I'm excited. So we'll dive into, what is Canelo? How does it work in a little bit? But I'd like to hear from you because I know you had a burnout story similar to myself. So I'd like to hear what happened to you and kind of, since you've now obviously emerged from that, but, how did you transition from that?
Yeah, and I'll be clear that there unfortunately isn't a single burnout story. That's the sad reality. I've dealt with chronic and different experiences with burnout, and they've all started or were resolved in different ways. But some situations started from, I believe you've now coined the term hyperachiever. I resonate with that quite a bit.
Yeah, positive intelligence. So yes.
Got it. Yes. So from my own experience just entering the workforce, I believe it was a little bit self-driven, where I was working late. I wanted to make a good impression. I just had zero boundaries with my work, and I wanted to, there was joy that came out of that productivity too, but I just drove myself into burnout before I even realized it was happening. That was before I had the language for it. That was before I knew how to ask for support for it. But thankfully, at that particular company, there were really strong relationships, and a lot of emphasis was placed on self-care and peer support. So I feel like I was able to navigate it a little bit more with ease and learn over time what it meant to be both productive and find that balance. But then the unfortunate reality is that I've had burnout driven from the work environment, not self-driven, where there wasn't opportunity to take the time I needed to heal after a health scare, or when I was dealing with being the primary caretaker for a family member and feeling like I couldn't have those candid conversations about what was going on in my life at work. And the expectation was to mask or to really just be the corporate robot in those moments. And just feeling like I couldn't be myself and I couldn't take the time I needed to heal. It was that two-pronged, very dangerous environment to find yourself in when you're going through some of life's greatest challenges that we're hit with. And when you're in that sort of environment, it doesn't become about giving yourself permission to heal. You can do that all day long, but if no one else is there to give you the support that you need, the permission you need to do that too, unfortunately, the only answer was for me to leave that environment. And I
Hmm.
believe that's the sad reality for a lot of people going through burnout or
Hmm.
working in a toxic work environment too. But
Yeah, I can relate to that because that's what I ended up doing is just leaving. It
yeah,
got so bad. And what I hear you saying too is the lack of support and just having somebody to empathize with your situation and just say, okay, let's give you a little bit of grace here. How can we best support you through this difficult time? As opposed to, okay, let's just kind of push you into doing more and more and more, and maybe you'll just forget about it or just choosing to ignore it altogether. But in my case, it was so negative, just the constant you know burning and constant working, and things just had to be done yesterday, and
mm,
revision over revision, and no support, and having like a senior leader basically just not even there to speak up in a meeting if you're presenting with your team. They just throw you under the bus, and it was not pretty.
I'm so
So
sorry.
I, like you, well, it happens, and unfortunately my health took a huge toll. I gained a lot of weight. I almost destroyed my marriage, and I ended up just quitting. So
Yeah,
I resonate with what you said because sometimes, unfortunately, that's what you have to do.
yeah. But then you can carry those lessons with you forward, and you can
Yes.
tell that story and
Yes.
hopefully be a beacon for work doesn't have to look like this. It can look very different.
No.
It can be a supportive space. It can promote well-being and balance. And I think
Yes.
that's what you've been put on this earth to do. And I feel like that's what I've on my own fire lit under my butt, that there has to be a better way to work, to
Absolutely.
yeah, to interface with our fellow man in the workplace. How do we do that? And that's
Yeah. How do we do that? And from your viewpoint in what you are doing, what are you seeing as some of the biggest challenges in the workplace right now?
yeah, this comes from my own unique experience, albeit from being a remote software engineer my entire career. But I've just was seeing time and time again how we've really figured out how to be productive. We've really
Mhm.
optimized project management and getting things across the finish line and all of the collaboration and great innovation that can happen in remote workplaces. But we sort of optimized out the human element to that. I was
Yes.
finding that so many conversations were purely transactional, project focused, which, yeah, we all have a job to do at the end of the day. But
Mhm.
I forget who exactly said this term to me first, but the concept of relationship debt comes up where every
Mm.
time you're speaking to someone and you miss that opportunity to learn a little bit about them outside of work, who they are behind the screen, just ask them how their weekend was,
Mhm.
that builds up over time and you lose that camaraderie, you lose that trust, and then you feel less inclined to maybe raise your hand in meetings and offer ideas
Mhm.
because you're not so sure of who it is that you're giving your ideas to, who it is you're interacting with. So I was just finding that we need to be building intentionally stronger relationships with our peers in order to sustainably carry forward the productivity
Mhm.
and the innovation that happens in the workplace.
Oh, you nailed it. Absolutely. So how do we do that then?
I
The
think so
magic,
many
yeah,
teams, yeah,
the secret sauce. How do we do that?
I think so many teams have tried so many different things. And
Mhm.
during COVID, I mean, we were all playing virtual bingo or Jackbox games and things like that. And you
Yeah.
know, those were really fun,
Mhm.
but of course it was often top down oriented where
Yeah.
we would wait for the next annual offsite or we would wait for an HR manager to plan the next all hands get together. And my question becomes, how do we bridge the gap between those catalyst
Mhm.
moments of team building and camaraderie, and how do we
Yes.
create little moments in between? How do we build the habits and build the permission in our culture to create those moments on the day-to-day? And
I
that's
love that. Yes.
yeah.
That is so important. So important.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're not doing it every day, then it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And, I equate to what you said about, these annual offsites or what have you. It's like thinking about a vacation and, oh, my life will, I'm just going to power through until I go on vacation.
Yeah.
And then I find when people go on vacation, especially when they're an executive or a leader in a role, they're thinking about work the whole time or they're bringing it with them.
Mm.
So it's thinking and acting differently in the workplace, which needs to happen. And I don't think it's not about saying that stress is going to go away, because let's face it, stress is not going away in the workplace at all. It's not. But it's learning to how can you rise above it and, put those little moments, like you had said, into the day. And then, yes, it involves self-regulation too. But why don't we jump in and tell everybody more about Canelo and really what it's doing for, those organizations that are on board. So
yeah, thank you for asking, Lisa. I think I'm glad to hear that you resonate with the idea that there needs to be more little moments on the day-to-day, and that's what Canelo is exactly meant to drive, where it's a holistic platform to improve the employee experience. I believe you've heard of recognition rewards programs, you've heard of virtual team building games, but when you have just one without the other, recognition platforms unfortunately can be bogged down by maybe the same three people sending each other kudos.
That's so true.
Because that's who they know, that those are the people they build relationships with. And then team building games, they're ephemeral. It doesn't tie to other aspects of the employee experience. You play them in an evening for a bigger event like your offsite, and then you lose access to that. So Canelo, the answer to building relationships and camaraderie, and perhaps I'm biased because this is my particular love language, but it's games. It's sharing playful experiences and joy with your teammates, and how a platform that ties recognition rewards with virtual team building into one platform, one social platform, to help teams build stronger relationships, mental resilience through support and trust and psychological safety, and how play can really be this secret sauce, as you say, to help teams build stronger relationships. So that was probably a more roundabout way of saying that we're a web-based employee experience platform that integrates with Slack or Microsoft Teams to bring teams together, if they're distributed or in the same office, through play, peer recognition, and continuous learning. And that's the most recent addition, is we've also gamified your annual security training or your onboarding experience, how that can be tied back into recognition and rewards programs to also incentivize and bring people together and bring out the competitiveness that might come.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
For the hyperachievers.
Yes.
I mean, what you described too, some of those trainings are just a beat down, and you have to have them, but when you can put some fun or humor into it, I think it makes the material, more resonating overall, as opposed to, I'm kind of listening with one ear while I'm doing something else, so.
That's actually so true. There's so much science behind how humor, injecting like a little joke into something, can just activate your neurons and help you retain that knowledge over longer. So if you're in an industry that training and consistency in how you deliver your services is super important, then gamifying those aspects could really actually help your team perform better. So I'm really excited about that application of gamification to that as well.
Yeah, I love that too. I think it's awesome. So, give an example, if you can, of like a situation, a work situation, and the type of gamification that can be integrated into that so that our listeners really get it.
Yeah. So imagine you're Sarah and you're a brand new engineer joining a tech firm, and you spoke on the panel to a bunch of people hiring you. They talked about having a great culture. They talk the talk, right? But logging into Canelo, you can actually see them walking the walk. You can see the news feed of kudos. It's a living sentiment and a living proof point of how people are actually taking the time to recognize each other's hard work. And then when you actually come together to actually get to know your teammates, maybe you join a virtual game to play this or that, which is like an icebreaker game where, yes, you answer honestly, hopefully, no liars in the group, about what you would bring to a deserted island. Would you rather have your favorite soundtrack or your favorite book? But then the key point is trying to guess how your teammates would answer. So you're kind of put into a situation where you're rewarded for knowing your teammates better. And the
I
same
love
thing,
that.
yeah, same thing applies to Two Truths and a Lie, or something purely collaborative and goofy, like you can play a virtual escape room and see how you solve problems together. So
Mhm.
these different events might require different tools to cater to them. If you're doing onboarding and getting someone acclimated to the team, or you're doing project kickoff and you want the energy up in the room. Or
Yes.
actually this summer, what's exciting is we're just about to launch async games, we're calling it, where something gets published to Slack on a weekly cadence to keep the fun going. If you don't have to stop your workday, but you could be hit with a prompt on who on your team has 5 cats. So
Oh,
you
how
know,
funny.
a little profile scavenger hunt where you have to go find out who on your team matches that description and earn points by doing so. So more encouragement, more rewards for understanding who's behind the screen again, and building that camaraderie and finding common ground with your teammates.
I love that. So, what in your experience, what have you seen for organizations that have really started to use this? How are cultures changing?
So one of our pilots actually takes the form of not your traditional company, but it's top of mind right now because they're using our training material,
Mhm.
and they're using it in a leadership cohort. So
Nice.
yeah, like a company though, this takes the shape of a forming team where it starts as strangers and you need to build vulnerability and trust in order to discuss leadership challenges in a group setting. You need to build that psychological safety in order to really open up in this new group. So in order to do that, she's been using Canelo both for the social aspects of it, as well as sending out monthly training to combine with her monthly cohort sessions to see if they're paying attention. No, to see if how the knowledge is being distributed and how it could be applied in the workplace when they leave the cohort eventually. And one thing that was cute in getting to meet this cohort is how the competitiveness does come out. They want to get
Mhm.
100% on those quizzes, and they want to see how they're doing in a social setting amongst their cohort. They're like, oh, I got 100% amongst my team, and I'm in the top quartile. So I think, especially with a cohort setting, maybe you do find more of your hyperachievers, your forever learners, people that are dedicated to self betterment. So it's really cool to see how Canelo could be a resource to those people. But additionally, it's no joke that they're taking on this additional curriculum, this additional uh, dedication to bettering themselves outside of work hours. So they're already putting in that extra time. So being recognized for that work and having them send kudos to each other and saying, hey, thank you for what you shared in the session today. Like that really resonated with me. Just making those moments for peer recognition, I
Mhm.
think goes a long way. And uh, I'm just excited to see how a holistic intervention to the employee experience rather
Mhm.
than point solutions could drive
Absolutely.
longer impact. Yeah.
Well, and it really helps the employees, well, and the leaders too, feel needed and valued, seen, heard, and valued. You hear that all the time, but it's it's not there in many organizations. It's just not. It's productivity and constant performance over well-being, and oh, but we have these great resources that you can use, but they never allow their individuals to utilize them because they have such an intense workload. So it's crazy. It's like just this self-fulfilling,
Yeah.
prophecy. So I like that. And, too, it shows that that individual or those individuals are valued, and it creates that culture so that people want to stay there because
Mhm.
of that, as opposed to, okay, I'm just collecting a paycheck, or and I'm actively looking for something else,
Yeah.
because yeah, if you get there's
Motivosity. Oh, sorry.
pardon me. No, go ahead.
I was going to say Motivosity just did a poll about what keeps people staying at their companies. And
Yes.
I think one of the more common answers was having a manager who notices. People
Yes.
really do need to feel like their work contributes to something greater and that
Hmm.
they are being seen for their hard work, recognized for it, to really understand that I'm not just spinning my wheels, that I matter
Hmm.
here, that I'm important, that I'm building something. And I think that really goes a long way for just how we manage how
Hmm.
we manage in today's workforce. I think we just,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. The grind culture that is
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, I have to say, the younger generations that are
Mm.
coming out of school or in their, early 20s, I think they really have a better viewpoint on what work and life should be, and we could
Yeah.
certainly learn from them, because gosh, I mean, I'm in a much later generation. And I'm on the cusp of like the boomer generation, which was the workaholic
Oh, yeah.
generation. And no, it's all work and no play. And you're working all the time. And yeah, that's a total recipe for burnout.
Hmm.
But, also this goes back to, and I know from personal experience that when you feel like you are cared for in an organization and you have fun and you have those relationships, then you're willing to tolerate maybe a lower salary. I don't want to say tolerate, and I'm not saying that don't grossly undervalue yourself, but it's tough out there. The economy is not great, and
Yeah.
budgets are being cut, and AI has been a huge disruptor in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of people out of work, and having to find something that maybe wasn't quite at the level that they were at or at a much lower salary can be really demeaning. And I think from that standpoint too, what you're doing with Canelo is so valuable because it brings back like that self-worth and value into organizations that, for in many cases, just people just feel like they've lost.
Yeah, I
Totally.
was struggling to find the words, but that is it. It's self-determination,
Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-worth
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
plays a big part, and community, I find. I mean, I think one of the bigger trends for HR tech upcoming is how belonging can be its own metric for how we track engagement or surface churn risk or people uh, ready to leave. Because I think you're right. I forget the exact statistic, but people have been known to say that they would prefer having their best friend at work over
Mm-hmm.
having a higher salary, like if it was between the two. What I do know is that teams that foster those stronger relationships and that people that have a best friend at work are 7 times more likely to be engaged than teams.
Wow.
It
I
drives
can see that.
huge engagement because you want to put up your best show for your teammates when you really care about them and want to not let them down. And that's really been the environment that I've found myself into. And even today, I'm so lucky to get to say that I work with my best friend. Ash joined my team when we were just an idea and has been helping with project management and operations. So
that's so awesome.
I'm extremely blessed. And to come back to what you said about Gen Z and below and their changing social contract with work, I've been seeing that in real time. I was able to sponsor a couple capstone CS projects through Portland State for undergraduate computer science students. And 4 of them have since stayed on post-graduation to be interns with us and are helping these asynchronous games. So they're fully owning a lot of the product direction, which is so cool to see. But they're so engaged and so invested. And when I ask them what they want out of work in the future, it's to find flexibility and that desire to have autonomy. But they think that they've already seen how poor team cohesion and poor team communication can really have just a lot of pain points in trying to get stuff done versus we spend a lot of time focused on the forming team and on collaboration and ownership. And I've just been really grateful to hear that students coming in without any experience in the workforce are already kind of looking at what we're building at Canella and saying, yeah, people need this. This
is need this. Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely. So, well, we're getting close to on time. Are there certain like industries or markets that you're really going after with Canella right now? Because I mean, anybody could use your product, I guess. But, I guess to help listeners, if they know or if it's their organization that could use it, who is like your best referral?
Thank you for asking that. I'm really excited to work with mid-sized teams that have 50 to 500 employees, because I think when you're a tight-knit group, you might still know each other on more interpersonal terms. And then as soon as you start feeling the growing pains, you have to be a little bit more intentional with how you maintain that culture at scale. So I'm excited to put this into hands of mid-sized companies like that. But I think the way that we're building this, with it being a web-based platform, with it integrating with Slack and Teams, I think distributed teams that are digitally connected is a good way to put it for how people would interface with this tool. If they're already using Slack or Teams and working from a desk, whether that desk is at home or in a shared office space, they could greatly benefit from Canella. But I know with your experience in working with healthcare professionals, I would love to one day be an asset to people in that industry, because actually both my parents are medical professionals. And
wow.
Yeah, and when I first started learning about burnout, it was probably through their eyes a little bit, but also just learning how it's most rampant in the healthcare industry. And I believe one of the more deserving of dedicated intervention to creating stronger relationships, stronger community, and better balance at work. So yes, growing into that space one day.
Oh, that would be incredible. Yes, absolutely. And especially, I mean, it's just the whole fun component. I mean, it's people who go into healthcare for the most part, I would say 99.9% of the time, they go into it for a passion, a love passion to serve and help others. And then the grind of it and the lack of staffing, all the staffing challenges, and then the budget cuts, and then trying to deliver great patient care when you're running around like a crazy chicken, you just, yeah, it's just crazy. But integrating this is so easy. It's not like it's a huge undertaking to be able to integrate something like this. So,
yeah, thank you for saying that. I'm hoping for this to even be accessible to small teams too, and have it be a bottoms up adoption, where if you're a small team within a larger org, why not take advantage of using Canelo just internally and try some games for free and see how that helps you build stronger relationships, and then see how Canelo could work at a larger impact scale, and how people analytics could then drive better management insight, and how those trend lines are improving over time. I feel like it can really start small and then expand and scale to really drive a stronger employee experience and create that flywheel effect. But
I love that. I love that. I love what you're doing. And I thank you so much for being on this podcast, this new baby podcast. But yeah, I just love what you're doing. And I think it's so needed and so important. So Kyra, tell our audience who, or I should say not who, how they get a hold of you if they're interested to learn more.
That would be fantastic. So you would find us at Conello.com. That's spelled Conello. Again, it's connection and hello, so hopefully easy to remember. But
yes,
Conello.com, yeah, there's there's a link in how to get started with our pilot program, where we're giving teams 60 days of free access, bookended by tailored engagement survey to offer tips on how to improve your organizational health. So this is a no commitment pilot. We just want to help teams build stronger, more cohesive relationships, and see how that can drive performance and greater retention, as well as better well-being, and really see if we're building in the right direction to achieve that.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. Well, thank you again for being on, and for our audience that is watching or will watch the replay, thank you. We appreciate you. And until next time, we will see you and be talking more. See you online. Yes. All right.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so grateful to be here too.
All right. Okay. Take care. Bye.